pages who are here to watch this. This is a committee meeting of the Gaming Committee, and like many of the committees in the Senate, we have the responsibility of confirming or not confirming appointments that the governor makes to various boards and commissions. And we have two nominees by the governor, one to the Lottery Corporation Board and one a reappointment and another reappointment to the Gaming Commission. Dr. Cassie Pennington, Senate nomination number 88, and I'm going to call that up first, lives in Indianola, and in order to spare him a drive and because he is a reappointment and by all accounts doing a good job, I invited Dr. Pennington to join us by video. Dr. Pennington, can you hear us okay? Well, I think you can hear us, but we can't hear you. I believe you might be on mute, Dr. Pennington. I think it's on your end.
How about now?
Yes, sir. Can you hear us okay, Dr. Pennington?
Yes, I can hear you.
The governor.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me? Dr. Pennington, are you able to hear us from Jackson? Dr. Pennington, are you ready?
Hello.
Okay. Turn it off. Turn it off. We're not able to connect with Dr. Pennington, and I'm sorry that if that was not able to, we weren't able to get him online where we could communicate, but I will tell you that we've got a peer report before you regarding a background check. This is a reappointment and by the governor, and I've made a few inquiries around, and I've located no derogatory information about Dr. Pennington. His appointment does comply with all applicable state law. I'm sorry he's not available to answer your questions, but it's not uncommon in the case of reappointments that we don't have people back. Are there any questions about the nomination of Dr. Pennington to the Mississippi Lottery Corporation Board? If there are no questions, is there a motion? Senator Younger moves that we do advise and consent on the nomination of Dr. Cassie Pennington to the Mississippi Lottery Corporation Board. Are you ready to vote? If you favor the motion to advise and consent, please vote aye. Aye. Any opposed? That nomination will be reported. And again, we apologize to Dr. Pennington, but we'll certainly notify him that he has been, his confirmation has been recommended by the committee. Second is a reappointment of Mr. Kent Nico of Pass Christian to the Gaming Commission. And Mr. Nico is here because I think the Gaming Commission met this morning. And I'd like to ask you to come forward, sir. And if you could come to the podium there and mash the green button. While he's coming up, I'll say that you have a copy of the peer report here. The peer report on a Gaming Commission appointment is probably one of, if not the most detailed background checks that the peer committee does. It is more substantial than on almost all the other appointments that you will see because of the laws requiring commissioners to have no direct or indirect financial interest in the industry that they regulate. The report came back positive and that it is applicable with state law. I will have a few questions and then certainly recognize any of the members who have questions. But first, I want to thank you for coming, Mr. Nico. And you've been on the commission now for what, about 3 or 4 years?
A little bit over 3 years.
3 years. Tell us about your experience and if you've enjoyed it or not, and what you've learned and what you see as the opportunities and challenges facing the commission and the gaming industry in our state.
I appreciate that. Great experience. I think we've done some good work. We've had some recent activity with new applications, particularly on the coast. We think some good movement is happening. You know, we look to the legislators to relook at some of their regulations so that we can be clear on some of our decisions. But the experience has been very, very good, and we appreciate the support that y'all have given us. And frankly, is always very interesting.
Frank and I went to high school together. He's been interesting a long time. Uh, um, are there any recommendations that you might have individually or for the commission on any matters that are currently before the legislature?
No, sir.
Um, I will mention one thing that, and certainly this is not disqualifying in any way, but I just want to mention it to you. Uh, uh, the peer committee went through a background check when you were first appointed, and then it had to update that for this reappointment, and indicated that you have acquired an ownership interest in the property that is in near a casino in the city of Biloxi. And I just want to make sure that you understand, and I know you do, that you can't have any interest either directly or indirectly in any property that would be involved in a casino operation.
Absolutely understand that, and it will absolutely have no connection to any casino.
Great, thank you. Do any members of the committee have any questions? Senator DeBar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Nico. Thank you for your willingness to serve again. We appreciate that. I've heard good things about you from our good friend Greg Havard there in Loosedale.
Yeah.
I won't go into detail of all the stories I've been told, but
Different
But-
hat.
so this is my second year on the gaming committee. I'm learning more and more. But what do you think is the biggest issue facing the gaming in our state that needs to be addressed as we move forward? What's the biggest threat, and how do you think we need to address that as the commission or the legislature?
That is a great question, because I'll tell you, as recently as this morning, Beau Rivage, for example, renewed their license. And it's always very important to me as a commissioner to see the reinvestment, not just into the property, but into the employees in the state. So to give you a good example, Beau Rivage spends this year, they spent about $140 million, and 97% of that was in our state. They employ about over 98% of the employees who come from our state. But not only that, they also give back to the community. As a member of the Coast, I appreciate that Beau Rivage, for example, has given back $400,000 back to the community in 2024. So that kind of reinvestment in our state and in our communities where these casinos have their place of business is important to me, and that's what I always look out for.
Is there a need to expand gaming throughout our state, or have we reached a good point where, we have all we need and we just need to keep assisting them to get bigger and better to provide for our state?
One of the things that I always look at are our reports, and I'm a numbers guy. I run a very large health system, and business is business and important, and we want to sustain what we base budgets on, right? So what I do have a concern over the last 2 years, gross casino revenues have been down 3% year over year, and that bothers me. What do we need to do to sustain and continue to keep our market share and hopefully gain some additional market share? We need to look at, do we need to continue doing the same old things, or what else can we add to our book, if you will, and begin to increase our gross revenues?
Thank you, Mr. Nico. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
Any other questions? I appreciate Senator Barr's question. It reminded me of one I meant to ask you earlier. We want to do everything we can to encourage future investment, further investment in the coast, and I should say in the casino market in the state as a whole, not just on the Gulf Coast. In your opinion, what would be the effect of a bill? And I saw a bill that came out of a committee in the House earlier this year that would increase state taxes on casinos by 50%. Do you think that would have any effect on potential future investment in the state?
I do. I think it would assist with additional investments, not necessarily with new applications, but reinvestments in properties.
Yeah, I agree with that. Any other questions for Mr. Nico? Thank you again for coming. Thank you for your
Thank you very
service.
much.
Is there a motion on Senate nomination number 74? Motion is we do advise and consent. If you're in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. If you're opposed, no. That motion will be reported. Thank you again.
Thank y'all very much.
We'll hope to take that up, probably be next week. Yes, sir. Thank you. Can I get a motion to rise and report? There it is. Thank you. Oh, here. And hadn't done this very much. No, no, you're, no.